Checky. If you're interested in data analysis, so either you're practicing it, planning to study it, or studying it right now, then you really need to know this so that you don't become obsolete in this AI era that we are living in right now. Before we start, make sure that you like this video, save it, share it so that you can always come back to it and see the information that is shared here. The traditional data analysts used to create reports. So, for example, if you're working for, let's say, a paint company, let's get Basco Paints. If you're working for Basco Paints, your part of your reporting will be which are the paints that are selling the most, which color paint is selling the most, which region are buying the most paints, of our best customers, what did they buy last year that they did not buy this year, and all these are usually static reports with a lot of filters here and there. But the revolutionized data analyst right now is creating systems where people can converse with the data that they have. So executives, the board members can converse with the data that they have. They can ask questions like, who is our best customer? What did they buy last year that they did not buy this year? Using plain English, and it will give them accurate answers. So what they are using to create these amazing products that you can now have a conversation with the data that you have, they're using AI agents, combining them with things called MCP servers. So what are AI agents? These are basically systems that use LLMs as their brain to execute, plan, and reason out through multitask problems to achieve a specific goal. The nowadays AI agents usually have context awareness, where it remembers what you've been talking about, reasoning, tool usage. So tools are basically things like reading email, BigQuery, Slack, etc., and autonomy, which is basically its ability to self-change. What about MCP servers? MCP servers are standardized components that basically expose specific data, tools, and functions to an AI model or agent. So MCP servers basically stand for Model Context Protocol. These MCP servers were introduced by Anthropic and now have been adopted by all these other people, and they really help solve a specific problem. You remember the tools I've talked about? They're supposed to be in the AI agents. In the past, we used to combine these tools one by one. So if you want it to read an email, you put a read email tool. Then if you want it to connect maybe to a data point through an API, you use a separate tool, and it became very, very segmented and very, very hard to troubleshoot, etc. But now MCP servers, it houses all these components together. And now using these two, your AI agent using the MCP server can communicate with the data, and using tools can now give you the ability to create queries by just using the LLM as the brain. So if you ask, which are the regions that make the most sales? It goes to the MCP server, sees that you have tools that can help you in responding to that, and then using the LLM to understand the question so that it can create the query, so that it can query the data and gives you back the answer using the large language model ability to write very well. It gives you a very good answer. So this region X or region Nairobi is a place where we have had most sales, where paint X, Y, and Z, let's say the red, blue, and green paint have been doing the best. These MCP servers depends on how you create them. You can create a custom one using LangChain as your framework, and then connecting it to any LLM that you want to connect with, and then creating your MCP servers, giving it the tools, specific tools. Maybe if you want to connect it to an API, if you want to give it specific data points, if you want to make sure that, or any data point that you have, if it's scraping data from the internet, it can do that. And then it can have these specific query functions helping you query by classification or paint type. Let's just use the paint example, paint type, or region, etc. You can also, if you're in the Microsoft environment, there's something called the Dataverse MCP servers. This is what we usually use. It has tools like, it lists the tables, describes the tables, then use the read query tool to try and understand and create the query that will solve your problem. This Dataverse MCP server works with the Microsoft environment, so connects data from the Power Apps, sees all the tables that you have, can work with Azure, can work with anything that is part of the Microsoft ecosystem, so can work with Excel through SharePoint. You can use that data to try and talk to it and try to understand, as long as it's clean data. Google also has the same thing. with things that they have launched like BigQuery MCP server that gives you the ability to query large components of data without removing it from the environments that they are in. Google Sheet NCPs, which help you have a conversation with the data that you have on Google Sheets. Google Map MCP servers. They also have GKE and infrastructure MCP servers. Gives you the ability to work with Google Kubernetes engine and the Google Compute engine, which basically helps the agents or lets the agent manage infrastructures and troubleshoot things like clusters, etc. So if you're an analyst, make sure that you understand how AI agents work with MCP servers so that you're not left behind. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. See you in the next one. Peace.